Hey, all you cool future voters, ever wondered how the decisions made in the highest court of the land affect your everyday life? Well, you're in the right place. John Oliver here, ready to talk about something even more exciting than my last stand-up routine, the Supreme Court. Now I know what you're thinking. The Supreme Court? Exciting? Really? But trust me, it is. Don't worry, I promise this isn't as boring as C-SPAN at 2 a.m. In fact, it's way more interesting than you might think. We're diving into the thrilling world of law, specifically the difference between criminal and civil cases. You see, the law isn't just a bunch of old books gathering dust in a library, it's a living, breathing thing that impacts our daily lives. So let's break it down. Think of it like this. Criminal law is all about punishing people who break the rules, like stealing your friend's phone. Not cool, by the way. When someone commits a crime, it's the government's job to step in and make sure justice is served. This can mean anything from paying a fine to spending time in jail. Civil law, on the other hand, is about settling disagreements between people, like who gets custody of the dog after a messy breakup. It's less about punishment and more about finding a fair solution to a problem. Think of it as the law's way of playing referee in the game of life. Now you might be thinking, John, this sounds about as fun as a root canal. But hold on, these cases directly affect your life, even if you've never stepped foot in a courtroom. From the rights you have at school to the way you're treated by the police, Supreme Court decisions shape the rules we live by. They determine what is fair and just in our society. They shape the rules we live by, the rights we have, and how justice is served. And that's why it's so important to understand them. So buckle up, because we're about to break down some landmark Supreme Court cases that have changed the course of history. These cases aren't just for law students or lawyers, they're for everyone. And who knows, maybe you'll even impress your friends and family with your newfound knowledge at your next family dinner. So, let's get started and dive into the fascinating world of the Supreme Court. Let's rewind to 1954. Imagine a time when schools were segregated, meaning black students and white students couldn't go to the same schools. Yeah, messed up, right? That was the reality in many parts of the US, and it was all perfectly legal. Enter a landmark civil law case that shook the nation and changed the course of history. This case was a big deal because it challenged the idea of separate but equal, which basically said that as long as black and white people had access to similar facilities, segregation was a-okay. Spoiler alert, it wasn't okay. The Supreme Court agreed, ruling that separate educational facilities were inherently unequal and violated the 14th Amendment. This was a huge win for civil rights and a giant step towards equality in public education. Fast forward to 1966. Picture this. You're arrested. Maybe you were speeding, maybe you jaywalked, or perhaps you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Who knows? The point is, you're in a stressful situation, and your mind is racing. You're trying to remember what you should do, what you should say, and what your rights are. The cops are grilling you for information, asking rapid-fire questions, and you feel the pressure mounting. Do you know your rights? Before the landmark case of Miranda v. Arizona, most people didn't. They were often unaware of their right to remain silent or to have an attorney present during questioning. This lack of awareness led to many confessions that were not truly voluntary, as people were intimidated or confused into speaking. This case revolved around Ernesto Miranda, a man with a troubled past who found himself in police custody. Miranda was arrested and confessed to a crime without being informed of his right to remain silent or to have a lawyer present. He didn't know that he could refuse to answer questions or ask for legal counsel. The Supreme Court ruled in Miranda's favor, recognizing that his confession was not truly voluntary because he was not aware of his rights. The court stated that suspects must be informed of their Fifth Amendment rights before being interrogated. This was a monumental decision that changed the landscape of American criminal law. This decision led to the creation of the iconic Miranda warning, a set of guidelines that police officers must follow to ensure that suspects are aware of their rights. You've probably heard it a million times on TV shows and movies. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. These words are now ingrained in our culture thanks to the Miranda ruling. This case is a prime example of criminal law in action, protecting individuals from self-incrimination and ensuring a fair trial. It underscores the importance of knowing your rights and the legal protections that exist to safeguard them. The Miranda v. Arizona case not only changed the way police handle interrogations but also empowered citizens with the knowledge of their rights, ensuring that justice is served fairly and equitably. While primarily a criminal law case, Miranda v. Arizona has significant civil law implications. It established a precedent for individual rights in police procedures, ensuring that citizens are protected from coercive practices and that their civil liberties are upheld during interactions with law enforcement. Now let's talk about evidence. Evidence is the cornerstone of any legal case, the bedrock upon which justice is built. But what happens when the evidence itself is obtained unlawfully? This is where the landmark case of Mapp v. Ohio comes into play. Imagine the police barge into your house without a warrant, searching for something, anything, to use against you. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? The sanctity of your home violated, your privacy shattered. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario, it actually happened. That's exactly what happened to Dalry Mapp in 1961. Dalry Mapp was a resident of Cleveland, Ohio, living her life like any other citizen. But one day, her world was turned upside down. The police suspected she was hiding a bombing suspect but ended up finding a bunch of illegal materials instead. They ransacked her home, turning everything upside down, and in the process, they discovered items that were deemed illegal. The problem? They had no right to search her house in the first place. The police had no warrant, no legal justification for their actions. This blatant disregard for legal procedures raised serious questions about the limits of police power. The Supreme Court sided with Mapp, ruling that any evidence obtained through an illegal search and seizure is inadmissible in court. This decision was monumental, setting a precedent that would shape the future of American jurisprudence. This landmark case, Mapp v. Ohio, strengthened the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, ensuring that the rights of individuals are not trampled upon by overzealous law enforcement. The Fourth Amendment, part of the Bill of Rights, is a critical safeguard for personal privacy and liberty. It protects citizens from arbitrary invasions by the government, a principle that Mapp v. Ohio reinforced, ensuring that the government can't just waltz into your home and use illegally obtained evidence against you. This ruling serves as a powerful reminder that the ends do not justify the means, especially when it comes to upholding the law. While Mapp v. Ohio is primarily a criminal law case, its implications extend deeply into civil law. The exclusionary rule, which prevents illegally obtained evidence from being used in court, is a crucial civil law principle that protects individual rights. This case underscores the importance of the Fourth Amendment in both criminal and civil contexts, ensuring that justice is served without compromising constitutional protections. The case of Mapp v. Ohio is a testament to the enduring power of the Constitution and the ongoing struggle to balance law enforcement with individual freedoms. It underscores the importance of vigilance in protecting our rights and the role of the judiciary in maintaining that balance. Section 5, Civil versus Criminal. What's the difference? Let's break it down. We've discussed three major Supreme Court cases, but how do they illustrate the difference between civil and criminal law? Criminal cases focus on punishing individuals for breaking the law, while civil cases aim to resolve disputes between parties. For instance, Brown v. Board of Education was a civil case because it involved a dispute over equal access to education between individuals and a school board. This case sought to resolve issues of segregation in schools. On the other hand, Miranda v. Arizona and Mapp v. Ohio were criminal cases because they dealt with individuals accused of crimes and the legal procedures used to prosecute them. Criminal cases often involve the government prosecuting an individual, while civil cases are typically disputes between private parties. See? Not so complicated after all. You might be wondering, why should I care about the difference between civil and criminal law? Well, understanding these differences is crucial because they directly impact your rights and responsibilities. Civil law deals with disputes between individuals or organizations, while criminal law involves actions considered harmful to society. Knowing the difference helps you understand how the government can interact with you and how justice is served. It empowers you to be an informed citizen aware of your rights and responsibilities. This knowledge allows you to hold those in power accountable and navigate legal challenges more effectively. Think of it like this: knowing the rules of the game makes you a better player, right? The same goes for the legal system. Understanding how it works allows you to navigate it more effectively, whether you're dealing with a landlord dispute, a traffic violation, or even just watching the news. These Supreme Court cases aren't just dusty old history lessons, they're pivotal moments that have shaped our society, particularly in the realm of civil law. The decisions made in these civil law cases continue to influence our legal system today, guiding how laws are interpreted and enforced. By examining these landmark civil law cases, we gain a deeper understanding of the principles that underpin our legal system and the societal impacts they have had. It's a reminder that the fight for civil rights and justice is ongoing, and that these cases have played a crucial role in shaping a more just and equitable society. Remember, rights come with responsibilities. In civil law, knowing your rights is crucial, but it's equally important to exercise them responsibly. For instance, in landmark Supreme Court cases like Brown versus Board of Education, individuals exercised their rights to challenge segregation and to respect the rights of others. The legal system is a complex and ever-evolving beast, but by staying informed, engaging in thoughtful discussions, and advocating for what we believe in, as seen in cases like Roe v. Wade, we can all contribute to a more just and equitable society. So, the next time you hear about a Supreme Court case, don't just tune it out. Pay attention, ask questions, and think critically about the issues at stake. You might be surprised at how relevant these cases are to your own life, and how much power you have to make a difference. Well, that's a wrap on our whirlwind tour of the Supreme Court. We've covered a lot of ground, from the difference between civil and criminal law to the importance of landmark cases like Brown v. Board of Education, Miranda v. Arizona, and Mapp v. Ohio. But what does the future hold for civil law cases? Landmark cases like Brown v. Board of Education have set precedents that continue to shape our society. Moving forward, individuals can expect civil law to evolve with societal changes. Read up on more Supreme Court cases to understand these shifts, debate the merits of different legal arguments, and consider how these decisions impact your daily life. The future of civil law depends on engaged and informed citizens like you. Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay tuned.